Good day, folks, and welcome back to the channel. Well, Harley Davidson, according to its CEO, good old Jochen Zeitz, will be electric in the future. As he stated, at some point in time, Harley Davidson will be all electric, but that's just a long-term transition that needs to happen. He further stated that if you look at the past 120 years, the company has always evolved and never stood still. Now that's an interesting statement coming from a company that, although it has moved forward recently, it still banks on air-cooled pushrod engines. Quote, "I believe in big transformational change for iconic brands, which is what I've always done in my life." End quote. Now what does that mean? To me, it means the inevitable end of the combustion engine in favor of the more so-called environmentally friendly alternative, the EV or electric vehicle. But what is Harley's business plan? The plan is the future. In an investor presentation, Harley estimated that electric motorcycles currently held 1% of the market in North America, 2% in Europe, and 26% in China. The company projected that by 2026, the figures would be 10% in North America, 13% in Europe, and 45% in China. Harley Davidson plans to get out ahead of its competition. Based on its own reports, Harley also expects governments to further push environmental regulations, leading to higher sales of electric vehicles. And governments in many countries, including this one, are already salivating at the opportunity to push its citizens into climate compliance. Now, Harley announced the Livewire a few years back and spun off the brand shortly thereafter. Around the end of 2021, Harley announced plans to take the Livewire brand public. The company expected to raise net proceeds to the tune of $545 million in order to fund new development. Harley also expected to hold a 74% equity and other shareholders to handle the rest. But roughly a year later, in late 2022, the initial investors who propped up the company with a $400 million investment withdrew $370 million. And what of that expected $545 million that would be raised for new development? That figure fell short by $251 million. With the withdrawal investors, Harley now owned 90% after pumping in another $100 million on top of its original $100 million investment Harley put in once Livewire went public. Now, Harley had quite aggressive sales figures as well. They predicted sales of 53,000 units by 2025 and almost double that in 2026 in the amount of almost 101,000 units. Unfortunately, in the year 2022, Livewire shipped 597 units, which actually is a 31% increase over the last year. But in 2023, Harley cut their production from 7,000 units to 2,000. They have an extremely long way to go to even come close to the projections they had only 2 years ago. However, they are banking on markets such as Europe to boost sales. Now, how about revenue? Livewire's sales revenue grew 44% in 2022 to $14 million. However, the brand also lost $89 million in 2022. Earlier this year, Harley predicted an operating loss for 2023 of $115 to $125 million. The Harley Davidson Motor Company finished strong last year, but Livewire continues to be a financial drag on the company. It is yet to be seen how the next few years will go. The Livewire brand not only sells motorcycles, it also sells electric bikes for kids. And that's actually a significant amount of their sales revenue comes from these bicycles. And I have to say, it's not a bad idea to get the kids interested in the Harley brand while young. But why the push for EVs? Well, the easy answer is climate change. This is a much bigger conversation that entails more than electric motorcycles or vehicles in general. But environmentalists and governments argue that we need to move away from internal combustion or ICE engines. The theory being that the reduction of emissions will help to save the environment. Personally, I can see their argument. However, I think they tend to overlook certain facts. Facts such as the damage done through large mining projects used to mine the lithium and nickel for batteries, or the apparent modern-day slave labor being used in the Congo cobalt mines. How about the toxic challenge of recycling these batteries? Perhaps one might want to look into the emissions created by manufacturing battery-operated vehicles. For example, Bloomberg reported that with the push of this manufacturing, the material emissions will rise from 18% in 2022 to 60% by 2040. Or maybe a look at the logistics of an energy grid big enough to support this system as well. California appears to be a leading pusher for the EV. The state wants 100% of vehicles sold by 2035 to be electric. But I believe it was California who last summer sent out emergency alerts warning residents to avoid using electricity at certain times. For example, don't charge your electric car. Harley Davidson's Livewire is banking on these governments and more stringent regulations to help increase their profits. Harley's 2022 annual report stated regulations in some of Livewire's target markets include limited economic incentives to purchasers of electric vehicles and tax credits for electric vehicle manufacturers. While Livewire expects environmental regulations to contribute to its growth, it is possible for certain regulations to result in margin pressures. The long and short of the matter is that Harley will continue to lose millions on the Livewire for years more to come. They have a long way to go before their sales start reaching a balance point. They will also be spending quite a bit on production and research on more models. Make no mistake, Harley is not backing down from electrics. They put out a second model this year despite the poor sales of the first. They will most likely continue to push out more in the years to come. Now, I do not really have much issue with electric motorcycles or electric vehicles altogether. My main concern right now is looks, sound, and reliability. I have yet to see an electric motorcycle I would want to be seen on, and I enjoy the sound of a gas-powered engine. For me, there are two sounds in life that I really like: an A chord from a finely tuned electric guitar, and the exhaust note of a finely tuned V-twin. As for reliability, I have not yet been convinced that EVs will hold up under more extreme weather conditions. If I had to drive through a storm, winter or otherwise, I would much rather have a full tank of gas than a full charge. But I don't think electrics are bad. In fact, I think that the future of performance will probably be electric. And like it or not, and whether it's good for the environment or not, we will be eventually pushed into EVs. So although Harley stands to lose a lot of money over the coming years, I do not see this as a bad idea overall. Harley is just trying to get into the inevitable market that's coming, and that is going to take significant funds. They are still a big enough company that can make more than enough to swallow the loss they'll take for the Livewire. So for those of you who like the traditional motorcycle, myself included, keep those bikes in good shape, because one day you may not be able to get one again. So anyway, that's what I have to say about that. You guys have fun out there, and we'll see you in the next one.